Hey, what is up guys? It's me, Anthony, here to give you guys my ranking for all 4 Thor films. Yeah, that's right, there's 4 of them. And as always guys, I gotta do the disclaimer because YouTube can suck sometimes. This is my list, this is just an opinion. I am some dude sitting in his room with a whole bunch of stuff that's not gonna matter in the end, talking about a comic book movie. So, do with that information as you will. And as always, be sure to yell at me in the comments. Put your list in the comments of the order that you would rank the Thor films. And without further ado, guys, let's get into this ranking. Number 4, Thor: The Dark World. So we all know that Thor: The Dark World sucks. But does it suck so bad? Does it deserve its place in some of the worst MCU films ever made? Yes and no. First off, yes, compared to all the other MCU films, this one is totally lacking in just you caring about what's going on here. But, you know, I think there's a lot of good stuff in here. You know, you have that relationship furthering, you know, that bond kind of like I hate you but I like you at the same time kind of thing with Thor and Loki in here. I think this is probably the most like vicious that Loki is in the MCU as a whole. You gotta remember this is right after Loki got, you know, Hulk busted pretty much, and you know, he has a very much resentment for Thor, and this is just them trying to rebuild the relationship. There's also a lot of other things happen here. There's elves, you know, we got some dark elves in here. They happen, you know, Jane Foster is in here before she dons the hammer. It's always nice to see Natalie Portman, in my opinion, because, you know, I grew up with the Star Wars prequels, and Natalie Portman, yeah. Also, Black Swan was pretty good, so yeah, I like Natalie Portman. Okay, yeah. But hey, I don't blame you if you put this at the bottom, because I put it at the bottom, but I just don't think it's as bad as people want it to be. Number 3. Thor. So the tricky thing with this list is there's only 4 films, so if I put some at the bottom, you're automatically gonna think, oh well, you hate that movie, right? No, there's only 4. There's only 4. I love the Thor film. The first Thor film is one of my favorite MCU films of all time. You know, I know a lot of people say all time, but I really enjoyed this film. This film is another film, well, all Thor films actually, but this film in particular I feel like gets a lot of slack. A lot of people are like, I hate this movie. I don't know why. Maybe it's because Jane Foster and her friends are like goofy. People don't like that. I think it's a good origin story. I mean, it's our first time introducing gods into the MCU, and I think this movie does a good job of doing just that. You know, maybe people are mad about the villain being lame, because the villain is lame in this film. Really lame. Probably one of the most forgettable MCU villains ever. I mean, do you even remember the villain of Thor? Do you? Number 2, Thor: Love and Thunder. Be sure to check out my review for Thor: Love and Thunder up here, or comments down below, wherever I decide to put it. But short story, I like this movie. Thought it was good. The beginning of it was kind of weird. I think Christian Bale's character is amazing. Top tier MCU villain by far. Very, very scary every time I saw him on the screen. I like that we're furthering this Taika Waititi, you know, Thor universe. I hope that he directs the next film, the 5th film in the Thor franchise. I'm still shocked that Thor is getting all these films. But I really like this film. Everything about it, you know, the final fight, especially with them kids. And if you watched it, you know what I'm talking about. Them kids though. That was crazy. And number 1, Thor Ragnarok. Now this is a film that I know a lot of people that are on Twitter, you know, some of my colleagues, my esteemed colleagues, they even don't like this film, and the reason is they just don't like the feel of it. Too wild, too goofy. But that's what I freaking love about this Thor films. You know, this one and Love and Thunder. I love that it's so out of the box, because it reminds me of a freaking comic book. You know, all these started out as, you know, adaptations from comic book characters, and, you know, say what you will about the beginning of the MCU, you know, being a little bit more grounded and not as goofy, but they still had that funny element. This one, you know, the Thor films, Ragnarok and Love and Thunder, are amped up, but again, that's why I like it, because it reminds me of those really one-offs, or those really cool adventures that our characters in the comic books would have. You know, it wasn't always all serious that people were dying and they had a big threat. Sometimes it was goofy. You know, Thor meeting up with the Guardians of the Galaxy and doing some random stuff, saving a island full of mermaid people, you know, and just having fun afterwards. You know, stuff like that is what I want to see in my Marvel movies and my comic book movies. Just some craziness. Love and Thunder continued that, but this one I feel like perfected it because they did a good job. They introduced some story elements between Loki and Thor and Odin and everybody in this thing. And this one actually has some stakes, believe it or not. You know, it's not all fun and games, even though there is a lot of it in this movie that shapes the way he is going forward. And I really appreciate that and I really like that. Again, we got another villain in here that's a top tier MCU villain, in my opinion, with Thor's sister. Who would have thought? You know, I mean, if you study Norse mythology, I think you would already know. But I didn't know, and I was surprised. So when I saw her, I was like, whoa, she crazy. You know, she kind of looks like the witch lady from the Suicide Squad movie, but better because when she swivels, she actually means it. But that is it, guys. That is all 4 Thor films ranked. And let me know what you think. Did you hate it? Did you like my list? What is your list? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, guys, don't forget to check out my Twitter so you can stay up to date with my channel. And remember, guys, keep watching movies.